quest for perfection? Okay.
In Mario Kart 64, being the world champion is the highest accomplishment you can obtain. It's a community of thousands of players. With 16 courses you can get a non-shortcut world record in. There's records for both the fastest single lap and the fastest 3 laps, making for a total of 32 world records. For years, various champions would come along, sometimes holding a fairly large portion of the 32 records. Players like Kevin Booth and Alex Penev were on top in the late 90s, usually holding around half of the 32 records. In the early 2000s, MJ reached new heights for a champion, at times amassing over 20 of the 32 records at once. And that was incredible.
Rocket's one of my
Given
first
how many
ever
top-level players there were actively playing the game, holding close to 2/3 of the records was astonishing. But in January 2011, an up-and-coming German player posted his first world record.
Oh, is he a hate
His
watcher?
name was
Rocket,
Matthias
are you a hate watcher?
Rustemeyer. 2 years later, he would become the non-shortcut champion, holding 12 out of 32 possible records. But as the months passed, it quickly became clear that Matthias's reign as the champion was going to be different from any that came before him. By October 2013, Matthias had extended his lead to 20 out of 32 records. A week later, he was at 24. By November, he hit 26.
No. I have played Mario Kart. I just never played Mario Kart on the N64.
And at that point,
I never
he
had an
spelled it out.
N64. My uncle did.
He was gonna go for
had this
32 out of 32 possible world records. That had never been done before. Nobody had even been close before. And it would be an embarrassment to the rest of the community if he actually pulled it off.
Really that inferior to Matthias?
So the other players formed an alliance. It was made up of the last few players clinging on to non-shortcut records, and some other top-level contenders. Their goal was simple: stop Matthias from achieving 32 out of 32. Only problem was, the man they were trying to stop was perhaps the greatest Mario Kart 64 player of all time. And what happened over the following years, nobody could have predicted. This was their quest to stop Matthias.
Alinity texted me. Oh, she's so sweet! Alinity said, "I'm super happy your stream is going well. I'm so proud." Heart emoji. Isn't she a sweetheart angel?
Now, there's a couple things that need to be cleared up. First, Mario Kart 64 is known for having large skips, or oversights from the developers that allow the player to skip massive portions of the track. Shortcuts like the weather tanko on Choco Mountain, the big jump at the start of Rainbow Road, or the wall jumps on Wario Stadium. However, the Mario Kart 64 community has separate leaderboards for shortcut time trials and non-shortcut time trials. The shortcut records have their place in history, but we're going to be focusing on the 32 non-shortcut records. It's also worth mentioning how times are converted between NTSC and PAL. PAL versions of games are released in most regions of the Eastern Hemisphere, while NTSC versions come out in North America and Japan. PAL Mario Kart 64 runs
Wait, what's PAL? What does PAL mean? Hello, juicers. PAL is EU? Okay. He explains it. I somehow didn't hear. Sorry.
While NTSC runs at 30 frames per second. That means that the PAL version runs in slow motion, running at 5/6 the speed of NTSC. An identical race would be 17% slower on PAL than NTSC. The Mario Kart 64 community created the combined leaderboard to account for this, which adjusted NTSC and PAL times so they could be compared to each other. Matthias and most other top-level players play on PAL, since playing in slow motion makes driving a bit easier. So, all times you'll see in this video will be listed as their PAL equivalent, which might be slower than time.
I want to eat more vitamin gummies, but I know I shouldn't.
you're used to seeing if you live in North America or Japan. Anyway, let's go back to December 5th, 2013.
I won't.
That was the day the A1A Alliance was born, from a forum post by Zoran,
Augusten,
one of the
20
best Mario Kart
20 gift subs, thank you. Sorry, I don't mean to keep talking over the video. I'll shut up. For real this time, I swear.
64 players around. A1A stood for the Anti-1.0 Alliance, with 1.0 referring to Matthias's average ranking if he got 32 out of 32 records. On December 5th, Matthias had just taken the Calamari Desert lap record from MJ, meaning he now had 28 out of 32 possible records. The only 4 he was missing were Moo Farm Lap, Moo Farm 3 Lap, DK Jungle Parkway 3 Lap, and Toad's Turnpike Lap.
Wait,
Being only 4 records
the
away
TV
from
screen?
32 out of 32 was enough
That's
to
awesome.
mobilize the A1A into action. One member in particular saw a weakness in one of Matthias's.
Dude, what is happening in chat? Should I not have said juicers? Shit. I'm gonna get a drink. Oh shit, I almost tripped.
Times. So he got to work grinding to beat it. This runner's name
Oh my god, can you guys shut up? We're trying to watch a video. You're peeing so loud. God, everyone shut up.
was VAJ.
Yeah, motherfucker.
Yeah! 48!
I was like, whoa! What up, Soki? Yeah,
I
man.
love these.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this.
One of the reasons VAJ is legendary is because of his epic celebrations. But the other reason he's legendary is because he's really, really good at Mario Kart 64. He's held dozens of world records dating back to 2006 and still plays to this day.
To
On
this
December
day.
5th, 2013,
Which is when?
he was tied with Matthias on Koopa Troopa Beach Lap.
Probably still playing.
So he did attempts to break the tie and set Matthias back to 27 records. And on December 8th, he did. He beat the tie by .02, putting Matthias at 27 out of 32. However, later the same day, Matthias tied VAJ again to get back to 28. And then he got the Toad's Turnpike lap record. And then the Moo Farm 3 lap record. Matthias had 30 out of 32 possible records.
What a Chad.
The A1A was floundering. Other than the one record from VAJ, they hadn't done anything to stop Matthias. But they did have one big advantage.
I love how Salt always refers to the players like they're like super villains, like no one was in his way, no one was going to take him down.
The last 2 he was missing were 2 of the hardest to achieve in the whole game. Let's break them down. We'll start with Moo Farm. This record was 27.82 by TJL, set in March 2013. First, the obvious. TJL played as Yoshi. The 3 fastest characters in the game are Yoshi, Toad, and Peach, with no major gameplay differences between the 3 of them. So, every record you'll see in this video will be played as one of those characters. TJL also performed mini turbos all over. By drifting with R and wiggling the thumbstick back and forth twice, you can charge up a boost that can be released for a burst of speed when the smoke turns orange. By performing these in specific places all around the track, you can move through it much quicker than normal. The mini turbos and character selection hold true for all 16 courses, but Moo Farm has
Why is
something
it
in
just
particular
E?
that makes it unique. It has the only random element
like
in
the-
any of the time trial
It says
courses.
boing, right?
Moles that randomly pop out of their holes. The optimal path around the course involves going over the holes, and if one pops up while your cart is over it, it'll hit you and force you to reset.
The mole RNG.
The record holder here was TJL. He's what you might call a course specialist. He set a total of 19 Mario Kart 64 records over about 5 years. 14 of those 19 records were improvements to Moo Farm. He was able to master this course in ways that nobody else could, subconsciously understanding technicalities about ways to drift and angles to take. After years of on and off attempts, he got a 27.82, a time he described as a once-in-a-lifetime record. When Matthias did attempts to replicate this time, he found himself unable to emulate many of TJL's subtle strategies. He had trouble approaching the slope where he used the first mushroom and usually lost time there.
Get good.
The other record Matthias didn't have, DK Jungle Parkway 3 Lap, was held by William Lacey. Lacey was even more dominant at this track than TJL was at Moo Farm. He had held the record for over 10 years, lowering the record 14 times in a row,
Imagine
ultimately
racing against
ending
yourself.
with a 213.08. DK Jungle Parkway is a bizarre course to go for records on. You have to drive through the jungle while twisting and turning your way through the grass. Near the start is a big ramp you have to precisely jump off of. The farther to the left you go, the faster. However, go too far left and you'll fall in the water. There's also a cave at the end, where the fastest way to get to the top involves mashing R to hop up a steep slope. Doing this fast is incredibly precise, but after years of playing, Lacey was an expert
BLJs
at
of
it.
Mario Kart?
Since the record holders for Moo Farm Lap and DK Jungle Parkway 3 Lap were so dominant on their respective courses, Matthias struggled to catch up while also holding his other 30 records. So, the Alliance was eventually able to make a dent in his record total. Throughout late 2013 and early 2014, players like Jamie, Zoran, and MJ were able to chip away and take a few records from Matthias. They weren't quite on the same level as him, but they each had the potential to set a record if they grinded it out. But, unfortunately for the Alliance, whenever someone took one of Matthias's records,
Did anyone else read that?
he would almost always beat it back in a matter of days. So, with his record total sitting at 29, it was unclear if the Alliance's plan was sustainable. They had players who could compete with
Interesting.
Matthias, but nobody who could keep up with him. But then, in May 2014, a new player came along to join the Alliance. His name was Dan Burbank.
Dan Burbank.
That May, Dan got his first world record by beating Matthias's Frapp Snowland lap record. Of course, Matthias quickly beat him back a week later, but then Dan did something that everyone else in the community struggled to do. He beat Matthias back. There were no new strategies, no revolutionary new mechanics. Dan simply drove better than Matthias.
He was just better.
This pattern continued over the following months, and it soon became clear. Dan actually had the skill to keep up with Matthias on certain courses. So, as 2014 went on, even though Matthias was actively trying to defend his records, Dan was able to help push Matthias's total into the mid-20s. With so many players in the community actively working against him now, getting a 32 out of 32 seemed nearly impossible.
Gracias, mi amigo.
Oh, no problem.
Oh, you're live.
Yes.
You don't even have your chat open.
I'm reading it right here.
Is that seriously how you read your chat?
It's saving space on my screen.
You have to be trolling.
No, I'm not.
Emmy, what the fuck?
He's
Does
flaming
your
me
chat
for
know how you read your chat?
What's wrong? I read chat on OBS. What's weird about that?
You're a 10k Andy subs, and you can't read your chat on your
what?
There it is. There it is.
I do sometimes.
I see. You know what I usually do?
What?
I put my OBS on the left side, right next to the chat, and then I like everything else is like on these monitors.
But why? But then I have it twice.
What are you talking? Oh my god. Okay, for one, like, I just it just doesn't make sense. No wonder you miss so many messages.
Whoa. No. Don't
Is that a
encourage
thing?
this.
Is that a thing?
No.
Is
No.
that a-
Okay. Well, no. I get those people that are like offended that I didn't read their message.
Yeah, that's why you're not reading anyone's messages, because you read the chat box is this small.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay.
This is the size of it. This
No,
is literally the size of it.
No, it's not.
That is what I see.
Here.
You're changing it now because
No,
of
because I
me.
wanted. It's like where this is, but it's like the full screen. Like I can see it.
That's
just
what I do. I put it on the left side, and then I have the chat to the right of that. You should just get a fourth monitor. Fuck it.
A fourth monitor.
And just put it right up there.
What am I? What? I don't want to look up though.
Oh, sorry. I
That's so much
didn't mean
work.
to strain you for trying to just get a little bit more chat messages in.
I can read it just fine.
Oh yeah, cool. Okay, fine. Mute that chat or get rid of that chat then. Everyone in chat, type your favorite emote. I don't know what this is actually doing. I'll be honest. I actually have no idea what this is doing.
Burrito, no!
What, do you hate Burrito now?
I don't hate him.
Oh,
but
there it is.
He can't be in here when I'm streaming because he walks on my keyboard.
I bet
Look
Burrito
at him.
reads chat more.
Hi, Burrito. Oh, he gave me a kiss. Okay, now get out of here.
Wait, so what are you watching?
Summoning Salt, the quest for world record perfection, Mario Kart 64.
Shit. Wait, I feel like I've watched a video like that, but it wasn't for Mario Kart 64. It was for something else.
It
It's
was
for something
probably-
like really, really dumb.
Was it Wii Golf?
Maybe. Oh yeah, it was Wii Golf. That was it.
Yes.
That's weird.
Yes.
And then you're gonna speedrun after?
Yes.
Did you perfect your Bowser run?
No.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yes.
If you need any advice, I got you.
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'll see you later.
Yes. Okay, bye. Farewell.
Possible. The course he really needed help on was DK Jungle Parkway.
Video time.
If he could just get those 2 records, he felt confident that he could pick up the rest to get close. And in July 2015, he would get some help from a new DK Jungle
Don't ever disrespect Russell. What do you mean? Dude, what? I am not
Parkway
mean to
strategy by
Russell.
Lacey. The old lap strategy
I'm just
involved
messing
using
around
2
with him.
mushrooms shortly after the ramp to cut over a section of the grass. Lacey recognized that it was actually faster to use only 1 mushroom here, and saved the second mushroom to use over a later grass patch. Improvements
Oh
in
my
non-shortcut
God.
strategies are typically similar to this. Very small changes to precise paths to take while driving. This new mushroom spot meant there was now more time to save over the lap record. Matthias had a realistic shot at getting it. And by October 2015, he had done it. Matthias had beaten Lacey on both the 3-lap and lap records. 2 of the most problematic world records were out of the way. Now, all he had to do was keep grinding to pick up the rest.
Dude, how did I disrespect Russell? I'm gullible, so I can't tell if you guys are joking or not. You didn't? I'm having a crisis. All I wanted to do was watch Summoning Salt. You guys stop... I can't say stop trolling me, because that'll make it worse. But I can't lean into the joke, because I'm too gullible to tell when it's a joke. So what do I do? Give up! Bang!
On November 20th,
Cry on
2015, Matthias posted his 5th record from the past month. A 27.68 lap on
Make
Mario
chat small
Raceway.
again, okay?
That meant, for the first time in history, a player had reached 31 out of 32 possible records. The only record he was missing was Moo Moo Farm Lap, the
can't read it at all
27.82
now.
by TJL. It was the only record in the game he had never held before, and we've already gone over how much he struggled with it in the past. But now that he didn't have any other records to worry about, Matthias could focus all his efforts there. The A1A was on its last legs. They had put up a good fight for the past several months, but eventually Matthias alone had been able to outmatch all of them. Matthias is a really nice guy, and nobody in the Alliance had anything personal against him, but hardly anyone wanted to see someone hold all 32 records at once. It would be an embarrassment to all the other record contenders. Matthias said in a forum post that he was going to be unable to play until November 23rd, so the Alliance at least had until then to try to take a record from him. So, over the weekend, the Alliance got to work. Dan, Zoran, VAJ, and others were trying to take at least one of Matthias's records. But as the days passed, nobody was beating any. Even with the Alliance members spending hours each day grinding courses, nobody could take any of Matthias's 31 records.
Jesus.
That's how good he was. That's how far ahead his records were. And sure enough, on the morning of November 23rd, 2015, the day Matthias came back to try to match TJL's Mumu Farm lap time, a new record was posted.
Oh.
This is Abney317. He's one of the best in the world at Mario Kart 64, but his area of focus isn't with non-shortcut records. Instead, he's held dozens of shortcut records and the coveted 150cc large skip speedrun record for years, but he's had the skill to take some non-shortcut records too. And on November 22nd, 2015, he came to the community's rescue. A 212.61 on Bowser's Castle, a new record by 7/100ths of a second.
7/100ths.
Abney went after this record in particular because it was one of Matthias's oldest records, being more than 2 years old. Quality of play had gotten slightly better since then, so Abney perceived it as weaker than most of Matthias's other records. And apparently he was right. He was able to use different paths around the thwomps
He was
to go faster.
intentionally targeting.
But unfortunately for him, that also meant that the very next day, Matthias was able to beat Abney's record to get back to 31 out of 32. All he needed was to shave 900ths of a second off his Mumu Farm lap to get to 32 out of 32.
Yeah, all he
was
needed.
So close, and he
That's
kept
so easy,
pushing.
dude.
But then, it was Abney to the rescue again, this time on Calamari Desert 3-lap. This record wasn't nearly as old as Bowser's Castle. It was set only a week prior, but it was unoptimized. Just a month ago, a new strategy called hill hopping was first used by a player known as Dotman. By hopping off the hills on the sand at specific points, you get more airtime and don't slow down nearly as much as normal. Abney used this to his advantage, and for the second time in just 2 days, he was able to stop Matthias dead in his tracks at 31 out of 32.
That is the most BM emote I've ever seen. I want this. Can we make this a 7TV emote? This is so cursed. I want this.
But that wasn't enough to feel safe. Matthias could casually pick up new records seemingly whenever he wanted, and Abney didn't have as much experience with non-shortcut records. So, just to be safe, Abney figured he should probably go on the attack.
Hello, Sand. Yo.
Abney was actually standing up to Matthias. He wasn't just looking to defend his own records. He was actively looking to take records he didn't have. And it was working. During one crazy stretch...
Without putting your cursor on it? Is this
So,
where it is?
just to be safe, Abney figured he should probably go on the attack.
That was before this.
Dead in his...
There it is. You guys know what to do.
looking to take records he didn't have. And it was working. During one crazy stretch in January 2016, he set 4 new records in 5 days. It put Matthias down to 27 out of 32, his lowest total in months. Abney had once again proven that Matthias...
Oh wait, is BM like a degenerate league only term? It means bad-mannered. It's like disrespectful. Is what it means. No? Okay.
was beatable.
Okay.
But as always, Matthias came back to racing later that month, 4 records down from where he was just weeks prior. But rather than be intimidated by what Abney had just done, he saw
means
4
bad,
records that were
Mom.
well within his abilities to beat. 2 of them were on long courses with room for optimization, Wario Stadium and Rainbow Road. Because of Matthias' ability to take just slightly better lines and optimize his driving, he knew that there was room for improvement over Abney's record. And he was right, picking them both up in a matter of weeks. The other 2, Calamari Desert and Bowser's Castle, each had new strategies that Matthias hadn't implemented yet. The hill hopping on Calamari Desert, and different thwomp paths on Bowser's Castle. Once he did, 2 more quick world records, putting his record total right back to 31 out of 32. His
Missing
3rd time
one.
achieving that total. It was miraculous how he could do this. If someone took Matthias' records, he would just immediately grind to beat them back. People could temporarily beat him, but he would always prevail in the end. The one exception, of
So
course,
powerful.
was Moo Moo Farm. For the 3rd time, he just needed that one record to get 32 out of 32. And for the 3rd time, Abney took the chance away from him. It was Calamari Desert this time, beating
That's a good
Matthias by
emote.
600ths of a second. Matthias only had the chance to grind Moo Moo Farm for about 12 hours, because that's how long it took Abney to get the record. That made it 3 times that Matthias had made it to 31 out of 32, with just Moo Moo Farm standing in the way, only to be stopped by Abney at the last minute. Just remarkable. Matthias typically plays less Mario Kart in the summer, so in the middle of 2016 he took a step back from the game. Who could blame him after coming so close that many times? So, for several months, he didn't make any progress in his quest for 32 out of 32. The summer came and went. By October, he came back. And when he did, this is what he saw.
Dan's game. Oh shit!
Dan had just made a major statement. Matthias was down to just 24 out of 32 records, his lowest total in 3 years. This is what the community was capable of doing in just a few short months if Matthias wasn't there to aggressively defend his records. In the past, Dan had
Did not know
focused his
this
world
lore.
record efforts on Frapp Snowland and Mario Raceway. But since he had the time, in mid-2016 he got a lot better at other courses too, and picked up records on courses like
Oh, it's a different Dan? Oh, I thought it was the same guy. I was like, holy shit, I didn't know this lore.
Wario Stadium and Yoshi Valley.
Which one's the imposter?
Again, it was nothing revolutionary, just learning the right lines to take, how to take each turn, and other small driving mechanics. But regardless, the end result was there. Matthias was far away from perfection, and it seemed like maybe, just maybe, the community could take it easy and not have to worry about 32 out of 32. But then, in October,
They're fearing it.
Matthias did this.
Yes! 212.67. Clutched it with a cave. What a cave. Yes! 23!
Yes.
Can you believe it?
Over the course of just 4 weeks in October 2016, Matthias set 7 new world records. All of the months of work throughout 2016 done by Dan, Abney, and others were undone in a matter of weeks. World records on Wario Stadium, Mario Raceway, DK Jungle Parkway, Calamari Desert, Yoshi Valley, all by simply outdriving the other record holders. And that meant that for the 4th time, Matthias was at 31 out of 32 records. Once again, the one that was missing was Moo Farm Lap. Let's take a closer look at that record. It was 27.82 by TJL, whereas Matthias's best time was 27.91. TJL's record was one of the oldest records still standing at this point, being set all the way back in March 2013, shortly after Matthias first became the non-shortcut champion. Moo Farm is a very unique course, with slopes you have to go up and a fence you have to drive as closely to as possible. There's 3 very particular spots you have to use your mushrooms, hugging the inside fence and driving over the moles while you do. TJL had been able to completely master it back in 2013, but since Matthias had 31 other records to worry about, he just couldn't quite figure out how to do this course optimally. Well, until now.
Until now.
87. I felt the PR, I felt it.
It was a personal best by 0.04 of a second, meaning Matthias was now a 20th of a second away from 32 out of 32. His other 31 out of 32s only lasted for a day or two at most. But this one was different. 5 days later, by Halloween night, he was still alive at 31 out of 32. Abney wasn't there. Dan wasn't there. The Alliance had gone radio silent. The only thing there was Matthias grinding Moo Farm, closer to the record than ever. And then, Lacey came to the rescue. On October 31st, 2016, Lacey got a 2:12.50 on DK Jungle Parkway 3-lap. This course, especially on the 3-lap side, really was Lacey's specialty. It was his 23rd world record there, and this one couldn't have come at a bigger time. The thing is, Matthias definitely was the better driver of the two of them. Lacey just knew this course inside and out, and he was still a really good driver. He knew exactly where to go on the ramp, exactly how to take the slopes through the jungle, exactly how to mash on the cave at the end. This one course took up a ton of his Mario Kart 64 playing time, whereas it was only a small fraction for Matthias. As expected, the community was elated. 4 times now, Matthias had been at 31 out of 32, and 4 times he had been stopped at the last minute. And you might be noticing a pattern at this point. Matthias would get really close to 32 out of 32, then someone would stop him at the nick of time, Matthias would stop playing for a while, and then the community would grind together and take his total down lower. Well, that would happen again now in 2017, but this time, the community took it a step further. By November 2017, Matthias was at 21 out of 32 records, his lowest total in 4 years. There were 2 reasons his total got this low. The first was the usual period of inactivity from Matthias. He didn't completely stop playing, but he wasn't aggressively defending his non-shortcut records. And second, Dan took his gameplay to the next level. At one point in July 2017, he had 11 world records, the first time someone other than Matthias had had that many records in years. This was Matthias's lowest point since his quest for 32 out of 32 started. He knew he could get most of those records back, but what would it matter? We've seen it time and time again. Matthias would get his total up to 31 out of 32 with some effort, only to be stopped by one course in particular. Moo Farm Lap was always in his way. The 27.82 by TJL was his nemesis, and it was just too good for him to beat. But then...
oh shit.
he did it. On November 27th, 2017, Matthias tied TJL's legendary 27.82.
Oh, it's a tie!
The key
oh,
to
no!
getting it was playing the course a ton.
Well,
It came at the end of a several-week-long grind, where he
Counts
had
as
dozens
having
of
the world
laps in the
record.
2780s. During that time, he mastered everything there was to know about Moo Farm, and ultimately it all came together on one magical run. His shrooms were clean, his mini turbos were perfectly timed on the slopes, his driving was tight. In March 2013, TJL set a magical run with his 27.82. It took Matthias 4.5 years, but finally he had replicated it. And it changed everything. This was the one world record Matthias had been unable to hold. The one record preventing him from getting 32 out of 32 for the
I'm
past
still
2 years.
obsessed with that face.
Now, he had it out of the way. He stood at 22 out of 32 records. He had gotten each of the remaining 10 records before, and he knew he could get them again. It was time, once and for all,
Boy.
to get 32 out of 32.
Oh yes, that should be enough. Yes! 425.
Dang, the sunglasses emoji. Or emote. I don't know what they're called for that.
Yes! Let's go. 60.
Sure enough, 3 months later, despite some resistance from Dan, Matthias was back to 31 out of 32. The last record he needed was DK Jungle Parkway 3 lap. Of
But-
course, he had struggled with the times, but still a record he had held on 4 separate occasions in the past. His best time was 2:12.58. The record was 2:12.35 by Lacey. He was behind, but this record was certainly within reach. Time to finish the job. And then, on March 13th, 2018, Matthias made history.
Oh, I'm blocking his cam. Oh.
He was beaten by Abney on Calamari Desert at the last minute. For the 3rd time. This was starting to get absurd. It was the 4th time Abney had prevented 32 out of 32. The 3rd time on
4th
Calamari
time.
Desert. And of course, Matthias congratulated Abney on the Mario Kart 64 forums,
Their whole set
only to
supported
beat
that
him the
face.
very next day. Right back to 31 out of 32,
Goodness,
without a chance
so
for the Alliance to
competitive.
gain any ground. So, Matthias was back to playing DK Jungle Parkway, 0.19 behind the record. And once again, he got results right away, getting a personal best that pushed him to just 0.15 behind Lacey's record. This strategy from the Alliance clearly wasn't working. Even if someone beat one of Matthias's 31 records, he could usually get it back within a day or so. That wasn't a good long-term solution. Dan recognized this problem, so he started doing a strategy that few others dared to. He grinded DK Jungle Parkway 3 lap alongside Matthias. This method certainly had its positives and negatives. On the upside, if he beat Matthias to the punch, it could make it harder to finish the job and get 32 out of 32.
Clean.
But Dan had only held this record once before, and Matthias certainly had the upper edge. If he failed to beat him, that would be a lot of time wasted he could have spent on any of the other courses. This certainly was a gamble, but it paid off, because on March 16th, 2018, Dan set one of the clutchest records in Mario Kart 64 history.
Oh, let Matthias have it!
This beat the record by almost 0.2 of a second. It put Matthias back to 0.34 behind the world record. But its true dividends would be paid the next day, when Matthias got this time. It missed
Oh
being the world
boy.
record by 24 hours. Had he gotten it the prior day, it would have been 32 out of 32. But thanks to Dan's brand new record,
Damn.
he was just barely behind, by a matter of 0.08. Still, they were clearly playing with fire. Matthias was less than a tenth of a second from 32 out of 32, and had proven he was capable of taking time off his DK Jungle Parkway time fairly easily. This wasn't Moo Farm. Any day, he could take this record, and he was constantly trying. The community watched in anticipation, waiting to see when they would have to crown Matthias as the ultimate champion. But on March 23rd, they breathed a collective sigh of relief.
They were happy?
That sub. Oh man.
How was Abney able to keep doing this? Well, the record still hadn't completely been optimized from the hill hops. But on Matthias' last Calamari Desert record, he had been able to go under the first train gap on lap 3, whereas all previous records were too slow and had to make the second one. So, Abney's goal was to hill hop effectively enough and drive fast enough to match Matthias and make the first train gap. He was able to do it, and thanks to just slightly better driving overall, he shaved enough time off to beat Matthias, and once again send him back to 30 out of 32.
Oh my god.
But with how close Matthias was, Abney thought it might be best to keep going.
Just let him win.
So, he set his sights on a new target. Both the 3-lap and lap records on Rainbow Road. He targeted these in particular because A, they were each over 2 years
added
old.
the emote. Wait, sorry to pause it at this part. Apparently the emote's been added. I actually don't normally do my own 7TV mod. Is there a mod here that can do it? Oh my god, it's perfect! It's perfect! Add to channel. It's called BM Smile. Okay, I added it. Yes, I see it! It's not working in my chat yet, but look at it. It's so good! I love it! Yeah, why is it so big? It's so good, though. Oh. Let me see if I can reload the on-screen chat. Yes! Oh my god, it's so perfect. Oh,
Meaning the
I'm so
community's
happy.
overall quality of driving had improved since then. And B, they were on the
It's
longest
so
course in the
good.
game, meaning there was likely room to optimize them. And within a matter of days, he nonchalantly
Middle
picked
finger.
both of them up.
Good enough. Let's go.
I'm getting distracted.
Straight into the challenge.
So that put Matthias back at 28 out of 32 records.
Dude, he was so close.
In one quick swoop from Abney, momentum was back in the Alliance's favor. Things were looking up for
The
them.
Alliance. Just let
So,
the man
Matthias got back
have
to
it
work.
for even like a minute.
And this is what he did over the next week.
Come on. Yes! Whew. That's it. 71 on the last lap. Yes! 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 Oh.
He was back. This was now the 7th time Matthias had 31 out of 32 records. He had more determination than ever now to finish the job. The record was 212.14 by Dan, and he was right behind him with a 212.24. He quickly
and
found
Abney.
results with a small personal best.
Let him win.
But on May 1st, disaster struck for Matthias.
I love super
Zoran,
competitive
the
communities
founder
like
of the
this,
A1A, beat the DK Jungle Parkway lap record.
Competitive
That
but
meant
polite.
that now, Matthias was missing both records on this course.
No.
And what occurred throughout May 2018 can only be described as a mad scramble on DK Jungle Parkway. Dan was grinding the 3-lap record, Zoran was grinding the lap record, and Matthias was grinding both. But ultimately, even though Matthias was lowering his best times, having to deal with both Dan and Zoran was just too much for him. Despite coming insanely close, he couldn't get either record. And eventually, he stopped trying, and his record total began to fall into the 20s.
No.
Months passed,
Wait,
and as
that's
more
so
of Matthias's
sad.
records were taken, reality began to set in. His window for perfection was probably gone. He had had 7 opportunities to get 32 out of 32. All of them were foiled at the last minute. Moo Farm was his nemesis for a long time, with
Wait, that's
TJL's
so
ridiculous
sad.
lap being too hard to beat. After finally conquering that record, DK Jungle Parkway stood in his way. Lacey's expertise just barely kept him ahead, and once Zoran got involved on the single lap record, it was just too much for him. Matthias was probably the greatest person to ever play Mario Kart 64, but even for him, holding every record at once was just too big a task.
I can't believe it.
He did try to
this
do the
real?
superhuman.
Guys, is this real or am I dreaming? 2:11:72 out of nowhere.
At least, that's what everyone thought. But on November 20th, 2018, Matthias pulled off
There it
a
is.
miracle
There it
on
is.
DK Jungle
The
Parkway's
best
3-lap.
emote in all history.
He took almost half a second off his personal best to crush the world record.
Jesus.
Matthias himself didn't see this coming. Nobody did. But it meant he might be able to make one last push at this. Now, he just had to pick up the rest of the records he was missing. That took him all of about 2 days. One record left. DK Jungle Parkway lap. The record was 42.07 by Zoran. Prior to Zoran taking it in May 2018, Matthias had held the record for the past 2.5 years, so he certainly knew what he was doing. But to beat the time that Zoran had put up was going to be asking for a lot. There were 2 big tricks he had to focus on. First, the ramp jump. There's a very specific place you want to land, just to the left of this tree. Lining yourself up when you go off the ramp is super tough, but Zoran's record did so perfectly. And second, the cave
Giving
jumps
me
at the end.
anxiety.
We saw before how important these were, but lap runs add a mushroom in here to take them even faster. There's a very specific way you need to hop up to the top. As far to the left as you can be, but too far left is too steep and you'll tumble. All of that was a tall order, but luckily Matthias was the best the world had. This one was within reach. His thousands of time trial attempts, his 7 other times at 31 out of 32, they all came down to this. It was time to finish off his dream. 32 out of 32 world records.
Oh shit. It's not a bait this time, is it?
Oh, shocking. Shocking.
Shocking. Not a matter of if, but when history will be made. Jesus. Famous quote by Matthias. I don't know.
Oh no! So close. Oh, that's so tough to swallow. How close can you get?
He said Craigasm so close, smile. Jesus. World record pace. Clean. No. There's so many baits in these videos, please tell me. No, I knew it!
Ouch!
Oh.
God. What did I do?
Oh. But 3 days later. Yahoo! Oh no, no, no! No!
Oh my god.
A dream-crushing record from Abney.
Dream
How
crushing!
close had Matthias come? Well,
beast.
he tumbled in the cave because he was just barely too far left.
Oh.
As in, half the width of a cart too far left. Had he not tumbled, it almost certainly would have been either tied with or ahead of Zoran's record, meaning 32 out of 32. 5 years of trying, and thousands of hours playing Mario Kart 64 came down to one tiny failed motion. He just held the control stick slightly too far left. That was the difference between 32 out of 32 and another failed attempt. Following this, Matthias's record total would never recover. Instead, it was Dan's and Abney's turn to celebrate, pushing certain time trials to levels they had never seen before.
Yes! Yes! There we go, boys! Yes! 54! Yes! Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And that's where this story ends.
No!
At least for now.
Dang.
Matthias may have never accomplished his goal, but what he did do is honestly just as impressive. 249 total non-shortcut records. 8 separate times at 31 out of 32. He just never got the last one to finish the job. But the thing is, he might not be done yet. Matthias still plays Mario Kart 64 actively to this day. His potential remains right there. He might still be in the middle of his quest for 32 out of 32. But wherever he goes in the future, we know he'll have tough competition along the way. Thanks for watching.
Wait, he retired? Wait. Wait, what? He retired because he got betrayed. This was like recent. I lost the key value to go on fun. A fraught rivalry with the game's new champion is a big reason why. 2 million. Oh, that's the video we just watched. Someone finally managed to secure all world records. It wasn't. It went to Dan! Wait, Dan got all 32? What? Everything changed. Burbank was hoarding world record times he recorded but never posted. On June 11th, he unhoarded all these times, claiming a number of new world records and shattering his long reign in the process. He felt betrayed. He wrote a long apology, but neither have communicated outside of live tournaments since. He unhoarded 15 world records in June 2020. Fooled me and others for 15 months. Some players left the scene. Many were upset and disappointed. I thought about retirement, but kept going after receiving much support in a future hoarding ban with mandatory streaming for Dan. It was actually 17. It isn't against the rules, but consider it at the least bad form. I don't even like know what to say. Like, I don't think he was like trying to betray. He probably was just like, oh, it'd be really cool if I just like dropped this bomb. But I mean, the community had this like narrative of like people slowly catching up to each other. I refuse to congratulate, but Dan lost all my respect last year, and for me, sportsmanship over gamemanship. He feared the fair battle and sneaked to the top so I couldn't defend properly. Oh, is that why? Because then he wouldn't... Oh yeah, because every time... Yeah, because Matthias would post his records one by one and then everyone would come for his neck. But Dan did it sneakily so that people wouldn't catch up in time. And he could get them all at once. I understand now. Okay, now I get why people were pissed about that. Because then, yeah, people can't compete with what they don't know exists. I understand now. Jesus. Wait, that's so sad. Thanks for all you've done to the community. You will be missed. That's so sad.